For example, public resources that go through the government are necessary for private enterprise and public life and private life. You cannot have a business if you don't have roads and bridges and airports and sewers, if you don't have things that are given to you, like science and technology, in computer science and satellite technology and GPS systems and cell phones. These are supported by our government and by your taxpayers, and they're given to you by that. You don't have medical technology and new drugs because the NIH has done it unless you have public resources. What the conservatives are trying to do is get rid of public resources. That is what is happening every day in Congress, getting rid of public resources and public protections. Absolutely crucial, and it's being hidden because people are criticizing Donald Trump. Now, what Donald Trump is doing is making a front for that. And criticizing Donald Trump directly is like saying, don't think of an elephant. I wrote a book called Don't Think of an Elephant. Or Nixon saying, I am not a crook. You negate something, and it makes people think of it. It strengthens the people you're arguing against. What you need to do is argue for. Always frame things from your point of view when you start. So suppose you're in the press, and you have to cover Trump. You're in the media. What do? And I've been in the program on the media. And that's what I said. I said, look, first of all, is he going to try to divert attention for someone? Start with the real issues confronting the country and confronting him first, and tell the truth about those. Then, when you see a diversion, like is he talking about Meryl Streep this week or something else, tell the truth about that diversion first. Then say, oh, by the way, he's tweeted the following, which doesn't fit the facts in this way. You say that in 30 seconds. And then you go back to the real issues. And this is a diversion. It's away from these real issues, and then you go back to telling the truth.
There's one big problem with that argument, and I totally concur with it. Donald Trump sells newspapers. He gets ratings, and what you just suggested we should do is to talk less about him and more about the other. But that ain't how TV or radio or newspaper business works, man.
You got it.
We do clickbaits. We need clickbaits on online stuff.
This is absolutely right.
Yeah.
When I talked to the graduate students in journalism at UC Berkeley last March, I talked to them about just these things. And what they said was the head of CBS, the president of CBS, says it may be bad for the country, but having Trump on every day is good for the profits of CBS.
Mr. Moonves said that.
Mr. Moonves,
yeah.
Les Moonves, he came out and said it.
Sure.
And those graduate students said, why am I here in graduate school? I want to be an investigative reporter. Do I want to have to work for that? Mm-hmm. And my answer was, you don't have to work for that. You can be telling truths all the time, saying things from the point of view of the public, not from the point of view of conservatism, but you have to find a niche where you can do it. You have to find a way to do it, and ultimately, the people in the press have to get the courage to stand up to it.
I know this isn't your field per se, but can you say a word about how they develop that? How does the press find its spine?
That's a good question. It finds its spine because otherwise it will be useless. Otherwise, all they will be is spokespeople for Trump. That's all they're going to be. You know, okay, Kellyanne, tell me what I should say today. Okay, Kellyanne, I'll just say it. Yes, you know. And when they know it's false, well, why are they in the business? Why are they? What is your job? If you're a reporter, if you're in the media, your job is to tell the truth for the public good. Period. That is why you're there. And if you're not there doing that, you shouldn't be there.
To what extent do you think the truth doesn't matter? What I'm getting at here is whether or not we live in an era now where, how can I put this? The truth is what each of us determines it to be. Put it another way, it's truth if I believe it. Now, if that's where we are, then I don't know that any of this matters.
Well, we're partly there.
Okay.
And the reason we're partly there is what I call the neural filter. That is, if you hear some information that comes in and it doesn't fit what your brain can understand or comprehend, you're going to either change it or ignore it or attack it. One of those things. And in fact, I mean, lots of experiments show this. If you go into neuroscience, it's well known That's what's going to happen. This is as a neural filter. Now, if you have both worldviews, the question is, can you say things that fit one worldview and fit the other worldview, fit the minor worldview, even if you're mostly a conservative? That is something that's hard to do, but you have to understand that and study it. So it's difficult to do. And with some people, if they are totally conservative, you have no choice. They're going to go and hear and believe what Trump says, no matter what you say. Now, there are questions where they have mostly in-group nurturance and care about their families, about other people, and so on, and their neighbors. In those areas, there's a chance to actually get them to think differently.
So we've been talking for the better part of this conversation, as we are now, about the head, and that's why I wanted you to come on, because that's what you do. But where does the heart come in? Is there no link, Professor, between the head and the heart?
Yeah, they're intimate. And it's not the heart is a metaphor for the rest of the body. All of your emotions come through your body. Every emotion, is there in your body. We first discovered this back in the 80s, when we started looking at the metaphors used for anger. And I went to the person who studies the psychology of anger, how it works in your body, what the physiology is. When you're angry, your skin temperature goes up 0.5 degree. That's why you're boiling mad. Your blood pressure goes up and your heartbeat rate goes up. So that's why you explode. You have interference with accurate perception. That's why you're blind with rage. You have interference with fine motor control, which is why you get hopping mad. If you go through the actual language of anger to describe anger, there's a logic to it, but it comes from the body. And Antonio Damasio, a great neuroscientist, has pointed out that all of those things in the body are registered in the brain. The brain and body aren't separate, and they're linked to what you believe. They're not connected. They're not disconnected from your beliefs. Your beliefs and your worldview are not just intellectual; they're embodied. Thought is embodied. It's there emotionally, and that is crucial. One of the things that you need to do is to get involved in the way people's bodies work. You can see by looking at Trump what his body is doing. I mean, it's quite something. It's very often you can see somebody up there and you can tell what they're like by the way their bodies work.
What do you see from Trump?
You see from Trump somebody who is aggressive, who is, trying to dominate you, who is, trying to put you down and trying to be above you in all ways, and so on. You see it actually physically in his face, in his mouth, in his hands, in his hand gestures, all the time.
So if he's going to be some version of, I was thinking about the movie The Manchurian Candidate, if he's going to be wired that way for the next 4 years, what are we to do? How do we sustain our hope for the next 4 years?
Well, that's why we have a citizens communication network we're setting up.
Yeah.
We're trying to get everybody out there using social media and every day saying, look, you say protection. You don't say regulation.
Language matters.
Language matters.
Yeah.
It's not just, and actions matter. Certain kinds of actions matter. Why was the Women's March what it was? And why did it have to be women? Because it was about care. The criticism was each of those women had a different view, a different issue, etc. No. They all had one issue, care. And the point of a progressive democratic government is it's not just about elections, it's about citizens caring for other citizens and working through that government for that care. Without care, there's no democracy.
That's the quote of the day. Without care, there is no democracy. Now that I have conducted this conversation, I'm going to go home and watch it again.